Codependency, what is it and how do we heal from it? So when I first looked up the definition of codependency, because let's start with definitions, right? Looked up the definition of codependency on Google, and the first thing it comes up with is a person who enables another person's self-destructive behaviors. And then if we look at Merriam-Webster, it says a psychological condition or relationship in which a person manifesting low self-esteem and a strong desire for approval has an unhealthy attachment to another, often controlling or manipulative person, such as one with an addiction to alcohol or drugs. And then, oh yeah, there's one on ChatGPT here, which was also nice. Codependency is a dysfunctional relationship dynamic in which one person excessively relies on another for emotional validation, self-worth, or identity, often at the expense of their own needs and well-being. It typically involves a pattern of enabling, people-pleasing, and difficulty setting boundaries where one person prioritizes the needs of others while neglecting their own. Great, great definitions. I'm going to add one more that's kind of like simple, small, pithy, right? And that is, I believe that your opinion of me is far, far more important than my opinion of me. Does that make sense? And in my exploration of codependency, because I'm someone that was chronically ridden by this, like most of my life, I didn't even know. I thought that was the way people were, because guess what? Both of my parents had it. Most of the parents of my childhood friends had it. It was completely normalized in that environment. And of course, what do we see on movies and television? We see people in these like chronically codependent relationships. And it is celebrated as love or romance or chemistry or blah, whatever, right? So as I walked my journey through this and tried to untangle what the hell was going on, I eventually get to this point where I'm just like, oh, what's going on here is that there's a person over there. It might be a romantic partner. It may not be. It might just be some random person that I think is important. Okay, why do I think they're important? It's like, oh, they're a leader, or they're attractive, or they've got all this attention in the social unit that I'm in. You know, maybe they're famous, maybe they're a leader of a company or organization or business unit or whatever, right? Whatever's going on, it's that my system has now attached to that person that their opinion of me is super, super important. Because that's one of the key things here to remember is that this dynamic is not, it does not apply to everyone. It's like, okay, it's a girlfriend or a parent or just some pretty girl I meet at a cafe, right? And suddenly her opinion of me really, really matters. And I'm like terrified of it being negative, right? I want her opinion of me to be really, really good. I want her approval. I want her validation. And I'm like, I'm willing to bend over backwards in order to get it. But now, okay, now let's take her out of the picture and put someone else in that picture that is not someone that I particularly look up to. It's a joke I'll often use is like, okay, take that person out of the picture and grab a homeless person sitting out in front of a fast food restaurant asking for money, and then be like, and then that person says, hey, I don't really like you. You're like, I don't care. That has no impact, right? So it's not this universal craving for validation from all places or all people, usually. It's narrowed, it's focused. It's that on this person or set of people, like I really, really care about their opinion of me. Because their opinion of me matters. Their opinion of me is so important that if it's positive, my whole nervous system will erupt in a chemical cocktail of pleasure and euphoria. But if their opinion of me is negative, I'm going to crash into despair and self-loathing and anxiety and depression. Is this getting interesting? As someone who also struggled with anxiety and depression, and at sometimes even was prescribed medication for it, and a few times I even tried those medications, and I'm not going to tell anybody to not do that, but I'm going to say that in my journey, like, I look back at that now, and that was so chronically ridiculous. The idea, like, the thing that I needed was to change my mindset in the evaluation of the importance of their opinion. Like, this whole mess that was going on inside about how negative I felt and how lack of motivation or whatever was going on, like, that didn't get solved by positive self-talk or whatever. It had to do with that, like, I could have a fantastic opinion of myself. I'm like, oh, I'm smart and I'm clever and la, 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 all this other kind of stuff. But when the amplitude, the importance, the monumental significance of their opinion is so big that it dwarfs my opinion, I could have all the positive self-talk I wanted all day long, and it had no impact. My life did not change. I did not improve. My depression did not go away, blah, 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 right? It just continues. I had to get to a point where I was not valuing others so much. Interesting. So what's going on there is that the importance of others in this particular case, like the opinion of others, comes into our nervous system, and it is evaluated as a life and death situation. I know for some people they're going to say that sounds ridiculous, but that's really what's going on. Why is this the case? The reason this is the case is because at the childhood level, in the first 2 to 3 years of our lives, when the attachment system is formed and all the attachment wounds are formed, we are in a state where we are completely and wholly dependent upon our caregivers. And if those caregivers at any point in time demonstrated that their displeasure with us led to punishment, now what is punishment? If their displeasure led to a point where a critical need we had was removed, then, like, I'm not going to hold you, or I'm angry at you, or I'm going to put you down, or I'm going to take this food away, or take this toy away, or take some source of joy away from you. Like, if something happened where our little child nervous system learned that the displeasure of that person over there leads to a fundamental state of survival panic. I don't know if I'm going to get food today. I don't know if I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. I better keep them happy. You see this? This is how the attachment dynamics weave into all of this. These moments, and they can be very short moments, because the length of the moment turns out to not matter at all. It's the emotional intensity of the moment. The emotional intensity determines with how much significance a memory is stored. That memory is stored with a great deal of significance, which means it's easier to recall and it has more dominance over the system. if it was stored with a great deal of emotional intensity. And so if I'm in a situation as a baby and I see that mother is displeased with me and then she leaves me and I'm sitting here by myself for 30 seconds. If those 30 seconds, my nervous system is in a state of complete overwhelm, total system existential panic or existential dread and total system panic, that I am trapped here and there's nobody that cares, there's nobody coming, and I'm going to be alone here until I die. Right? If that moment happens, it is stored inside the nervous system in the brain of that child with a great deal of intensity. And that means we've now got this belief that like lives inside us that said, I need to be monitoring how much I'm being approved by this other person constantly. Constantly. This will often lead to hypervigilance, and you will frequently see codependence and hypervigilance together. Hypervigilance being my brain is tracking a larger and larger net of data around me. Why? So that I can monitor the emotional well-being of the people around me. And not so much the emotional well-being, but their like opinions, their emotional status, how they feel, mostly about me, right? We'll make it even more simple. I'm monitoring all this data around me to seek out situations where my caregivers or the people that have attachment with will be present and provide for my needs, or they will be unhappy and there will be punishment or some kind of dire situation that leads to great deals of emotional discomfort. So I'm looking at all these cause and effect relationships, and here's mom, and how happy is she today, and what does she look like, and what was she drinking, and like, oh, if she drinks this thing, then that other thing happens, and then it comes around, and then she's, that's all over there on the other side of the room, but now she's sitting here next to my crib or my chair at the table, and then she's slamming the stuff down, and I'm terrified, and I know that like there's no emotional comfort for me here, and I'm scared, but there's no place I can go with my fear, and so it all just gets stored internally. And I hope I'm making sense. Like that's the way this forms. So you can begin to see that codependency is a fear response. Codependency is a set of strategies that are adopted by the brain and the nervous system of a young child to try in an attempt to create a sense of safety in their environment, to create a sense of safety in themselves, right? I need to take care of that person over there and make sure that they're happy, that they're satisfied with me. Because if they're not, oh my God, I'm going to die. If they're not happy with me, they're going to leave me. If they're not happy, they're going to punish me. They're going to beat me. They're going to take my food away. They're going to scream. They're going to make me feel like this horrible, broken, bad, shameful thing. As I sit in this chair shaking and they're slamming the table or they're swinging their hands or whatever, right? I don't ever want to feel that again. That's what the subconscious inner child is saying. I don't ever want to be in that situation again. So we're going to do everything we can to prevent it from happening. We're going to do every possible thing we can to make sure that that never happens again. So what do? It's like, well, I have to sit in that chair every night. I have to go to dinner every night. Okay, so I can't escape. I can't run away. I've got no place to go. Who's going to take care of me? Where will I get food? I don't know. Like, I don't know all these things. So it's like going out the door is also scary. Leaving is impossible or scary. So I have to stay here. Okay, now if I have to stay here, then what do? I need to figure out what causes this. I need to figure out what it is that brought this situation to be, so that, that led that person to this place where they're so angry. They're so angry with me that they're putting so much, hanging so much negativity at me, broadcasting so much negativity into me. I don't ever want to feel that. So I need to figure out what makes them do that. Oh, okay. So when they're happy with me, that doesn't happen. When they're angry with me, when they're displeased with me, it does happen. Okay, I can work with that. What are the things that make them unhappy? What are the things that make them happy? Right? So I'm going to prevent all the situations that make them unhappy. Oh, crying makes them unhappy. I better not cry. Expressing my opinion makes them unhappy. I better not do that. Like sleeping in makes them unhappy. I better not do that. Wedding, like whatever, we've got bedwetting, we've got childhood depression, we've got all these various things that will happen. And then they manifest. And then that child's nervous system is in a state of panic. It's like, I'm about to be punished. Something bad is about to happen. If I don't perform, if I don't make them happy, if I don't do the things they want. And then eventually the amazing brain that we have figures out, it's just like, if I can keep them in a state of up, positive emotions, it's even better, because then not only have I prevented the bad things from happening, but I'm going to get all this validation from them also, right? Because I've got these deep-seated wounds inside that said, I'm terrible. I'm broken. I'm like, the things that I do are so bad that I should just be wallowing in shame every single day. Those are the messages that they teach us. Unintentionally, most of the time. Sometimes intentionally, tragically. So if I can keep them in a state of up, if I can keep them in a state of positive emotions, like they're happy, and then I get to sit back and be like, I did that. I'm a good person. Like I made someone happy. I brought joy to someone's life. I'm a good person. Unfortunately, I spent an entire childhood with a mother that was afflicted with this. And she had such horrifically negative views of herself. Every aspect of her life became how to please others so that she could convince herself, just for a split second, that she's a good person. It's tragic and it's sad for that individual, but it becomes doubly tragic and doubly sad when you think about the impact on the child. Because what happens in those dynamics is that the child eventually begins to understand what's going on, because the human brain is amazing and children notice everything. It's literally their job. The job of a child brain is to notice everything and learn. And so the child's learning this. The child's seeing this mother behave in this way and realizing it's just like, oh my God, all this stuff that she does, everything, literally every single action she takes is transactional. Everything she does is this desperate, cloying seeking of approval, validation to fill that empty void that she has inside. And then you look at yourself as a child in this relationship and you're just like, oh, I'm not even sure she gives a shit about me. Like, she definitely doesn't care about my opinions or my needs or what actually makes me tick. The only thing she cares about is having a moment where I approve of her. Like bringing the little present and the gift and the words of affirmation and blah, blah, blah. And, working so that she can say, oh, look, I worked all this stuff and I put in all this effort for you. And I do all this because I love you. And it's just like, fuck, no, that's not true at all. You did all this because you want to feel good about yourself. I'm just a empty actor. I'm like a human soul in a suit that you're just parading around for your own validation. And see, this is where codependency is so toxic. That's the codependency of the mother. And then, unfortunately, the child mind sees all this stuff and knows that it feels yucky, and they eventually begin to rebel against it. But the problem is they don't have any positive modeling. They don't have anyone modeling healthy behavior. So when that child's brain begins stepping into romantic relationships or work relationships or whatever, they have a million examples of how to do it the codependent way. And then they don't know any better. And so that child, which was me and some of you, that child begins to emulate. And they say, I'm just going to do the thing that I've seen around me. Oh, like spending 20 hours making Christmas cookies to bring to the office and drop one on every single desk so that everyone knows that I'm a loving, caring person. And like, oh, I just love Christmas so much and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, maybe that is you. Let's test it. The way we test it is you drop off all the cookies and you will never get a single word of approval. It's like it never happened. It's like you drop off all the cookies, you give all the gifts, you do all the things to all these different people. And the way we test it is we now remove them or remove you from the situation so that you know that nobody cares whether or not you did it or not. Or maybe they're like, oh, yeah, thankful, good job, whatever. Merry Christmas. And now if that person has resentment, if that person has resistance, if that person has disgust, if they have any uprising of negative emotions, when that test occurs, that's codependency at play. So how do we heal it? Yeah, how do we heal it? We heal it by going to the root, which is fear. We heal it by recognizing how terrifying it is to have someone disapprove of us. At least for me, for my nervous system. Because see, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm people pleasing, I'm caregiving, I'm valuing their opinion. All those things I'm doing because I'm terrified of the alternative. So it is, in my opinion, completely appropriate to describe this dynamic as addiction. People pleasing is an addiction or numbing agent, as I call them, in order to avoid the alternative. As Gabor Mate says, don't look for the addiction, look for the pain. What's the pain? The pain is that if they disapprove of me, I have big emotions inside. For me, it was panic. For many people I know, it is panic. Fundamental, existential terror, panic of someone disapproving. And this also leads into the isolation strategy, right? And so the isolation strategy is like, I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard. Like, I don't want to go to that dance, that dinner party or whatever. Like, I would prefer just to stay home in this safe space. Why? Because if I go and someone sees me and they don't like me, that's terrifying. So I'd rather just stay home. Watch Netflix, numbing agent. Eat sugar, numbing agent. Eat any food, numbing agent. Go shopping, numbing agent. See what's going on here? Codependency is, and people pleasing, and isolation strategies, and all this stuff boils down to I am fucking terrified of that consequence, of that situation. It's not even the consequence. I'm terrified of that situation happening because that situation feels so scary. It feels so uncomfortable. It feels so system engulfing, like jittery, fearful, vomitous terror. And one of the worst things we can do is to pretend like that's not true. When I was on my journey, I engaged with so many multitude of different healing modalities and therapies and drugs and blah, 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 blah. And so many of them were oriented around the idea that it was just like, oh, that feels bad. Let's get you to a point where you don't feel bad. Even in professional therapist office, that was going on. Oh, that feels horrible. I can understand why that feels horrible. Let's get you to a point where it doesn't feel horrible. How can we reframe this? How can we bring tools online? How about tapping? How about body tremors? How about psychedelics? How about whatever? Let's get you to a point where you can be doing something that you can focus so much on the doing of something, you can kind of numb out from the feeling of something. People pleasing is one of these. I'm going to focus on taking care of other people because the alternative, which is to just sit still and face the possibility that they don't like me, or maybe even that there's punishment actually coming, and maybe that punishment is even justified, right? The possibility of any of those things is so utterly uncomfortable that I would rather do anything, really. And so you grab an activity and you're like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to run, I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to people please, I'm going to bake cookies, and I'm going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? This constant reaching. Sounds like an anxious? It is. Avoidance do the exact same thing. It just looks different. Like, I mean, they have the exact same motive. It's just that their behavioral strategies just look different. So what are we doing? How do we heal it? How do we heal codependency? Stop. Is it really that easy? It might be. Just stop. Stop people pleasing. Stop avoiding. Stop going to ayahuasca ceremonies. Stop taking drugs. Stop eating sugar. Figure out what it is, the behaviors, the things you reach for when you were trying to avoid emotional discomfort. Figure out what those are. Make a list. Get a piece of paper and write it down by hand. Netflix, Tinder, sugar, caffeine, smoking, vaping, stand-up comedy, doom scrolling, YouTube, calling friends, calling other friends, meditating, shooting content on social media. Make a list of the things that you reach for when you are emotionally dysregulated, and then stop. Just pick a time and say, for this period of time, I'm going to abstain from everything on this list. And when I reach for the remote to grab the Netflix button, just stop. Freeze. It's a game of epic emotional health driven freeze. You just freeze and you say, what the hell am I just feeling? What just happened? And what am I feeling right now? Frustration, anger. Why am I doing this? I just want to watch Netflix. Who's this idiot on the internet telling me to freeze? What the hell is all this? Oh, what just happened? I just got a text from my mom. Wait, what? Is that connected? Wait, what? That's how it went for me. That's how it went for many people I've worked with. They freeze themselves from reaching for the numbing agent, and they just sit and listen to whatever the hell is going on inside. And in the of abstinence and abstaining from the numbing agent, what happens is your emotional reactivity gets louder. Your system's like, wait, what? We keep on hitting the Netflix remote so that we can numb out all this stuff. You're not letting me. Well, let's go get some sugar instead. And then they drives your body around like a big flesh robot and pushes you towards the sugar cabinet. And then you're like, you open up the cabinet and you're like, oh, that's on the list. And then you freeze. And then your nervous system's like, no, wait, we're taking that one away too. Time to go get a smoke break. You're like, freeze. And you're like, and it begins to get more and more panicky. I don't want you to be in a state of panic. I want to help you get through this. The way you get through it is to sit with it until it gets so bloody loud. You're like, oh my God, this thing, like if I don't take care of them, I feel horrible. Okay, what kind of horrible? I feel like I'm a jerk. I feel like I'm selfish. I feel like I'm not living up to my values. I am feeling angry and scared, disgusted maybe. You see? We freeze ourselves as we're reaching for each of these numbing agents, and we are provoking our nervous system into telling us what the hell is actually going on. And don't let it tell you a story. Oh, don't let it use concepts like respect or love or whatever, hatred, vitriol, narcissism, blah, 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 right? Don't use the conceptual assessments of the situation. Get to the emotion. What the hell am I feeling? Like, what emotion am I feeling right now? Do that. And stay longer in that place of discomfort. Stay longer in that moment of gut wavering blah at the idea of not helping, at the idea of not tending to them, at the idea of them disapproving of me. Like, yeah, here's a person I really care about. I really, really admire them. I really care about their opinion of me. I adore this person. I think they're amazing. And I just did something that I think they don't like. And they're looking at me in that way. And it's just like, oh, it looks like they don't approve. It looks like, oh, it's starting to feel yucky. This is the moment I start reaching for numbing agents, and I freeze on all of those. And I'm just like, oh, it's feeling really yucky. What happens if they don't like me anymore? What happens if they never like me again? What happens if they stop speaking to me? What happens if this friendship's over? Let's make it worse. Not only is the friendship over, but they start spreading rumors and they start telling people about how horrible I am. Ugh, that's terrifying. Stay there. Sit in that discomfort. Wallow in it. Because the avoidance of that discomfort is so powerful that it is taking over our entire lives. It is creating anxiety. It is creating depression. It is creating a fear aversion. It is creating isolation. It is creating disconnection strategies. It's creating an entire myriad of behaviors in my life that truly make me miserable. And I spend so much time and energy running from that discomfort and engaging in addictive agents like people pleasing, like overvaluing others, like hiding, everything we've talked about. The avoidance of that discomfort is so powerful, it will hijack my entire life. And I basically become a slave to it. I become a slave to that avoidance. So how do we get freedom here? How do we get liberty? How do we get autonomy back? How do we get to a point where I don't feel miserable and scared and anxious all the time? You can try all the modalities that promise a quick fix and magical frequencies and crystal this and water that or whatever, right? You can try all those. Go ahead. Do it. See how it works out. I'll see you back in a year or however long it takes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of them have some really neat things going on inside the body and the nervous system and whatever, but it's like, test it. Do the modality that you think is the right one or that's going to help you, and then check yourself and come back to this place where that person you really care about is not only thinking poorly of you, but spreading gossip about how horrible you are. And then say, am I regulated? Can I face that discomfort and maintain myself? Can I face that discomfort, work through the emotions, and then choose a course of action that is in line with my values, my ethics, and my dreams? If you can do that, great. Awesome, and I celebrate you. But if you're like me, that did not work. That's not what happened. I did the therapy and the this, that, and the other thing. I don't want to poop on any of those specifically because they are fun and it definitely feels good in the moment. But if you're like me, then you can engage in these different modalities and say, I'm going to have this peak experience and like, I think I'm healed now and whatever. And then I go back to that moment where it's like, here's a girlfriend or a boss or a family member or whatever, and they are actively disapproving of me. And my nervous system dysregulates to a 10. And I'm panicky and I'm jittery and I can't think straight and I need to get out of here and I jump in the car and I drive away or whatever, right? It's like, this still has control over me. I did that for years, decades. But it was when I turned the ship around and I went back and said, I'm going to sit with this discomfort as long as I can. Ugh, it does not feel good. But each time I do that, it is released from my system. I learned that this is not such a crisis. I can get through this. I can be safe. I can have someone disapproving of me and still be okay and still survive. Not only that, but it's like I can have them disapprove of me and I can still walk the path that I choose for myself. I can walk the path that I choose for myself, and some people are not going to like it. And I can be like, okay. I'm fortunate. I thought we were more aligned. I really wanted to be aligned with you. I really liked the idea of having you along for this journey, but apparently that's not what you want. And that's okay. So this is the point where we part ways. I'm going to keep walking the path that aligns with my soul and my dreams and my heart and my love and everything else. And I'm going to keep doing that. And you don't like it? Sorry. But go live your life. And I celebrate that. And then you get the people, especially it's usually family members, that like want to follow along behind and just keep throwing jabs at us. No, don't do that. You're doing stupid. You're being ugly. You're blah, 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 blah. And eventually we need boundaries and just be like, hey, fuck off. I don't need that in my life. You go live your life. I'll live mine. And if you get this close to me with that kind of negativity, I'm going to walk away. And if it gets worse, I'll block. And if it gets worse, I'm going to restrain or I don't know. I'll take the steps I need to take to protect my autonomy so that I can walk the way I want to walk. And I tell you the truth. This whole thing has been in codependency, trauma, people pleasing. All these things are connected. And I tell you the truth. You walk this path and you get good at being in touch with that primal terror so that you can release it, you can process it, and you can build resilience and strength against it. If you do this, your life will change, guaranteed. No question. That anxiety you're feeling will lessen, maybe go away entirely. Depression, lessen or evaporate entirely. I have entire boxes, psychological and physical, of stuff that used to send me into a state of primal panic. And now I look at them, I'm just like, meh, not a big deal. I remember those times. I remember how ridiculous I got. I remember how much that controlled my life. But it doesn't now. It's just a memory. And it's like, those things the keepsakes I'm saving, or the stuff that would be like, whatever. They're just like pushed back in the storage bin. It's like, I don't even need those things around anymore. This can happen, guaranteed. So it's been a good talk. I hope you have a greater understanding of codependence, people pleasing, attachment wounds, all the stuff I've talked about now. If you have questions, shoot them my way, send a message, DM, whatever. I'd love to speak to you. I would love to help you with your problems. I wish you the best. Peace out.